Coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli, and this is On the Trail of the Nephilim. Thanks so much for tuning into On the Trail with the Nephilim. You can see we've got pictures of the book everywhere. A little overkill, LA. But I want to get into this and talk about it in depth, sort of a no-tie Friday deal here. Talk about the Chongos Necropolis, refer back to the Ecostones. We'll get into that and so much more after a word from our sponsor, Virtual Shield. Apple has just announced a controversial new security update. The tech giant stated that they will scan every iPhone, iPad, and Apple computer connected to iCloud for illicit materials. Nearly 100 policy and rights groups have already come out against the update. But Apple isn't the only company doing this. Most tech giants breach your privacy in multiple ways, but you can fight back by using a VPN. This is why I love Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield adds an extra layer of security to any online account. It routes a user's online activity through their encrypted virtual tunnels. This prevents hackers, corporations, and your ISP from tracking you anywhere on the internet. Virtual Shield is my favorite. I highly recommend Virtual Shield get 50% off today by using the link www.virtualshield.com/LA. Once again, that's www.virtualshield.com/LA. So before we pick up with Chongos, I just want to say that we've had a bunch of email from people. I guess we hit some nerves with the Ecostones. And if you have not seen episodes 1, 2, and 3 of that, Ecostones 1, 2, and 3, it's very revealing because we were there. I've been to the actual museum like 3 times, maybe 4. And I've led tours there just to show people what's going on with the Ecostones. So here's the deal. We actually went to the people that were carving them. And this woman carved it right in front of my eyes. And I actually had it in my possession. I bought it from her, I think, for like $15 or whatever. Very crude, but she did it with a file. And we watched her do it. And lo and behold, there was a dinosaur. So according to the articles that were published in Peru, that there were 2 or 3 families that were creating the Ecostones. That's why there were 10,000 of them in the museum. So there's never been any provenance. In other words, Cabrera has never taken anyone to, well, we found them here. That's never happened, to the best of my knowledge. What we do have is families that owned up and said, yeah, we made them. So the whole thing's a hoax, in my opinion. You can think and believe whatever you want. If you believe the earth is flat, go for it. But, more power to you. And I realize when I say statements like that, the flat earthers go, oh my gosh, the earth is flat, no. But I don't think it is. But that's why I've got the little globe here. But the bottom line is this, folks. What is the truth?
What is the truth?
What is the truth? I don't have my little buzzer back in California, but I've got it here, and I will be using it. So the Ecostones, I would refer you to episodes 1, 2, and 3 this week. And then yesterday we started the Chongos Necropolis, and I got this guy because I'm going to get to that in just a second. So review. Chongos is a bizarre place. I mean, it really is. And I said this yesterday, the first time I was there, I was just taken aback because you're kind of, Paracas area is one of the driest places on the planet anyway. But what's amazing about it, this underground river goes through it, and it's a green belt. And farmers just throw the seed in. There's no irrigation. It comes up from the ground. It's incredible to see it. If you go 2 feet away from where that water is, total desert. And that's how Chongos is. All of a sudden, you find yourself in the Sahara. This is Senior Juan, passed away a few years ago. And it was Senior Juan's work that Brian Forrester built on. And then, of course, Brian did the videos, which we saw. Then we flew down, met Brian, met Senior Juan, met Irene, and everyone else involved. And it was just a fascinating relationship, a wonderful relationship. And when you're in Chongos, it's a necropolis. And it's been rated, as Brian says, and other people have said, that it's been rated by the Wakaros for literally 400 years. Some of the artifacts that are found are sold on the black market. For instance, the capes that are buried in Paracas with Paracas royalty. Those things can go for as much as $1 million or more on the black market. So it's big bucks. I remember talking to one Wakaro at one of the sites, and he took me to a place. He took me to the actual grave, and he said, yeah, this is where I pulled out this, the mummy had this gold vest on it, like an embroidered, very elaborate shawl, robe, and then on like a breastplate of solid gold. I mean, you know, he took me to the actual tomb, and it was very, even then, after it had been raided years ago and there was nothing left of it, you could see that whoever did this, there were thousands of shells all around and reeds, and it was even in its state of complete disrepair and no respect for the dead, obviously. And let me just pause here and say this. I take umbrage with the Wakaros on one hand, because they're not archaeologists and they're grave robbing. That's what they're doing. They don't care about the archaeology. They don't care about, you know, the DNA, let's say, from some of these guys. They could care less. They're after the gold, they're after the robes, the jewels, what have you. But the Peruvian archaeologists have two speeds, slow and stop. They're not doing a whole lot. And this is why you would think that they would embrace rescue archaeology. They don't. They embrace paperwork with all due respect. And it took us about 3 years to get permits to get the DNA. And when we went down there, Mondo Gonzalez, Richard Shaw, Chase Klotsky, and yours truly, we went down to Peru and we took 56 or 58 samples. And I'll talk more about that, but I want to get back into Chongos because this guy here was found in Chongos. So this is what comes out of the Paracas. And remember, Paracas is very, very close to this area. By the way, there's also been lots of UFO activity over Chongos, reported by several people. But moving right along, really a good shot here, and I'm going to turn the sound down because the sound is completely windblown here. I didn't have a windscreen for the mic.
And here we are in Chongos, and that's Brian Forrester. In the distance, I'm on top of a very large sand dune, which I've never been before. The wind is really blowing, so I'll speak a little louder. Here's David Greenhill walking towards me in the distance here. Here's a 360 of what Chongos can look like. Just incredible. Bleak, foreboding, shifting sands. The Chongos Necropolis. Panoramic view here from on top of a sand dune in the Chongos Necropolis. In the distance are the pyramids. Let's go back so you can get an idea how far away we are.
I'm going to go back to the beginning.
And here we are in Chongos, and that's Brian Forrester. In the distance, I'm on top of a very large sand dune, which I've never been before.
I'm going to stop it right there, just give you an idea. So there in the distance, you can see the river right there. You can see the river in the distance. And you can see that all around it is a green belt. It's just incredible. Water just comes up from the ground. You move, as I said earlier, 2 feet out from that, and bam, you get Chongos. You get total desert. And the sands shift. The wind blows, especially in the wintertime. And their winter is our summer, vice versa. Remember, they're down below the equator. And so when you're down there, in Paracas, you can go back, let's say 6 months later and go, well, where were we? Because everything changes. The landscape is constantly changing. This graveyard has been picked over. When we were there, I'm filming on top of this dune. I didn't talk about this yesterday, but I'll talk about it today. And what was really interesting here, let me see if I have any, this is a great shot. Look at that. That gives you an idea of just how barren and how Sahara Desert-like it really looks. And I'm trying to see if I can find something, and I don't think I have it in this clip, but let me roll on here. So the area is incredibly arid, very, very dry, and we see that this is where, it's a great shot right there with the pyramid. There's an adobe pyramid that was built on the site. And again, when Brian took us there the first time, I had no idea. I'd never seen a pyramid like this, ever. And we were all taken aback by it, because it was just amazing. And littered all around it were bits of pottery and bone, and it was, and mummy wrappings, and we didn't know what we were looking at. And all this, of course, begins to be revealed. The last time I was there with Tim Alberino in 2019 and his film crew, and we were down there, and they had discovered, the Wakaros had discovered this huge jar that was buried in the sand. I mean, I could, and I think somebody did. You could hop down into it, providing you had a way of getting out. It went down 8 to 10 feet, and we're not sure what it was for. We think it was for to hold water, but even that. But this huge jar, ceramic jar, clay jar, was buried, and that was uncovered. It was just incredible. And if I can find the pictures, I will show them to you. I'm pretty sure I have them somewhere in my treasure trove. But this gives you a real good idea of what Chongos looks like. Shifting sands. In Madeira, we see the remains of a pyramid. And when we were with the mayor, and it was just incredible. The mayor came out, we had this whole entourage, and we were filming, and we're on top of the pyramid, and the mayor's there, and Richard Shaw and I looking at each other going, I can't believe this. And the mayor told us this whole story about UFOs in the area. How there used to be a lake bed in the Chongos Necropolis itself. There was a small lake, and this UFO came over this thing and basically sucked all the water out of it. How does that happen? So lots of UFO activity over the area. Giants, there's reports, one of the Wakaros that we talked to, he said years and years and years ago, when he first came into the area, now we're talking maybe 50 years back, and at this time, no one knew about the elongated skulls in Paracas. I mean, people knew about it, but not like today. There's no internet, information is slow moving. There was a doctor that went down there and took some of the elongated skulls, the La Arroyo skull, which we did DNA testing, more about that later on. And just fascinating that all this was here, but this Wakaro told us that when he was a much younger man, maybe in his early 20s, he stumbled on a crypt. He went down this flight of stairs in Chongos. All this is, who knows where it is. Interestingly enough, Alberino flew a ground-penetrating radar drone, and there seems to be a tunnel complex underneath Chongos, which bears out the story of the Wakaro. He went down the staircase, and he found this tomb, and on the tomb was a giant. I said, well, how big was it? He said, oh, very big. 8, 9 feet tall. Can you take me? No, I can't, because we don't know where it is, because the sands shift. Anyway, moving right along. So here I am in the Chongas Necropolis. I talked about this yesterday. We found 3 skulls. There's Brian with 2 of them, and from this grave right here. So it's incredible. So what I want to get into, why Brian's holding these 2 skulls. So this is one of the skulls that was actually found in Chongos. I just want to point out some of the genetic anomalies. First of all, the orbits are about 25 to 30% larger than a human being, number 1. Number 2, the zygomatic arch is very, very robust, very pronounced. That's right underneath the eye cavity here. Obviously, it's greatly elongated. There is no sagittal suture. There should be a suture running from the frontal plate clear back to the occipital, but there's no suture there. The Zippo doesn't exist. More telling, and this is the work of our good friend Rick Woodward, is the Foramen Magnum here is all the way to the occipital plate. If it's any further back, it's outside the skull, right there. So, I mean, it gives you an idea just how far back that thing is. This is genetic. If you've not seen our DNA film, I would highly recommend you watch it. We've got doctors, surgeons, professors, archaeologists, anthropologists, all sorts of people coming on the record. And it's right there, number 6. And it'll blow your mind, because what we discovered was the DNA results points to a Middle Eastern haplogroup that does rewrite history. So if you want to find out politics, prophecy, and a supernatural report, I am doing 2 shows. This is on YouTube here. I'm a Trail of a Nephilim. pp&s Report. The full Monty is only on Rumble, Roku, and BitChute. So check that out. Let's move on to our UFO report. And I think you'll find this one extremely interesting. With Pentagon UFO unit in the Spotlight report mentions off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Pray tell, where are they made? I say this every single day. There it is. It's not what I think anymore. It's that L.A. Marzulli is really far out. He's wearing a tinfoil hat. I just, It's not that anymore, folks. Your government is telling you that unidentified aerial phenomena exists. It's here. Now what? What do you do with that information? Why is it that the church constantly, for the most part, won't even discuss it? Still won't discuss it. Look, the cat's out of the bag. And then, of course, you have all these newcomers who are jumping on the bandwagon. Bully for them, because they're rising up and telling their congregation what's happening. They don't have to call me up. They can do their own research, but it's there. I've been researching the UFO phenomenon for literally decades. And there's some things in the works, and I'll talk more about that in upcoming days. But this is a question from Susan. Could you please explain the difference between fallen angels, demons, disembodied spirits of a Nephilim, and when people claim to have seen ghosts? Great question. And if you've got a question, please shoot it to me, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. If you've got clips, still shots of video of UFOs, please send them my way, la@lamarzulli.net. Okay, here's what I believe, and you can agree or disagree. Not gonna argue it, but here's the bottom line, that fallen angels, first of all, are angelic entities. They can never be destroyed. We know that. That's why the lake of fire is reserved from them. Now, I suppose God could blink and they could be destroyed, but they are pretty much eternal beings. They were created before mankind. They watched as God spoke the universe into existence. They are messengers, both the good guys, but the bad guys have fallen. In my opinion, that rebellion did not take place in 24 hours. That rebellion took a lot of time, because how did the fallen cherub, the dragon, go around and spread his lies and promise, well, if you come over to my side and worship me, I'll do this, and give you that. Something, a quid pro quo. Who knows? We don't know. We're not privy to it. We only know that the rebellion happened. And the prince of the power of the air is Satan. That's who it is. Fallen angels are a separate class. Fallen angels. In the ranks of angels, you've got seraphim, cherubim. You've got watchers, both good and bad. You've got good angels and you've got bad angels. The good guys, the ones that appeared to Daniel, extremely powerful. Both the good ones and the bad ones can manipulate space, time, matter, and energy in ways that defy our physics. Demons are the disembodied spirits of a Nephilim. During the flood, when the flood happened, remember, a Nephilim is the unholy union of fallen angels and the women of earth. Read the book of Enoch. Better yet, read my book, Countermove. Shameless plug, but read Countermove, because it gets into all that. Mondo Gonzalez did a wonderful job contributing in that book. Mark Kahn, Sonda Allison, and others contributed to the book. So it was like yanking teeth to get that book published. Countermove, How the Nephilim Returned After the Flood. I won't get into that today, maybe a little later on. But here's the deal. So the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. But in the days of Noah and the flood, when the flood came, the fallen angels could just leave the planet because they had the ability to do that. The Nephilim were not able to, so they drowned in the flood. Their spirits, according to the book of Enoch, and I believe this, became the disembodied spirits that roam the earth. They hate human beings. They are in a fixed state. They are the demons that seek to inhabit something. When Jesus casts out the legion of demons from that man of the tombs, don't send us to the abyss. It's not our time yet. How did they? I wrote about this in the Cosmic Chess Match. How do they know that? How do they know it's not their time yet? Don't you find that interesting? We get little clues to this, the heavenly war, to the protocols of this heavenly war, and scriptures like that. No. Don't send us into the abyss. It's not our time yet. What a statement. Send us over to the swine. Of course, we know, most of us know the story. Jesus does that, sends them into the pigs go crazy, and off they go off the cliff and drown. Disembodied spirits. They are all over the mounds, in the United States, in my opinion. They seek to inhabit objects. When I went down to Peru the first time and I began to handle these things, the oppression lasted 2 years. So I don't take this lightly, and I'm not recommending that you do it either. When we go to these sites now, and we haven't been since COVID, obviously, you got to stay prayed up like crazy. Pray and fast, because these sites are highly charged. When we get into this, actually, in On the Trail of the Nephilim, episode 3, Secrets of the Supernatural, Voices from the Other Side. So, Jesus warns us, even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. Well, let me go back here. One last thing Susan asked, when people claim to see ghosts. Ghosts, a demon spirit, especially if there's blood spilled in a particular area, a battlefield where a murder's taken place, if there's blood, blood is always the gateway, always the gateway. So a demonic spirit, in my opinion, uses that blood to manifest. And that's what you're seeing. And especially if a person in life was in a house and engaged through tarot cards or seances or opened themselves up to the demonic, that entity can still manifest in that area, in that house. We have the power to cast all this stuff out. Why? Because Jesus gave it to us. For those of us who believe in Yeshua, in Jesus, we have his authority, not ours. So we have the authority to cast them out. Remember that. And he reminds us that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. What is coming, what is here, when it's totally revealed, will be a game changer. Anyway, folks, that is almost all the time I have for. I would admonish you, please check out our film, UFO Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception and the Luciferian Endgame. It's free. I'm working on part 2. The film is free. Folks, check it out. It'll blow your mind. I promise you, you're going to need to watch it at least twice, maybe 3 times. That's how much information is there. Thanks so much for watching On the Trail of the Nephilim. We'll see you back here on Monday. And remember, we'll see you on the air or in the air. Thanks for watching.
Matthews, I've seen a UFO.
I've seen a UFO.
I saw a UFO.
A UFO.